Hello and welcome back to Shoes Off No Cap, your favorite dance podcast. Today, Ellie, Diana, and Sean and I have a very special guest to feature on this show today. He is the only foreigner on Just Jerk, a super decorated team from South Korea. He's made an appearance on America's Got Talent, won second place in Feedback Korea, and was also a founding member of Organization 13. So our topics today will focus on his illustrious dance career, lessons learned from dancing in South Korea's super competitive scene, and thoughts on our community. He is none other than Nickson Lai. So Nickson, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
All right. Okay. So let's go to the first question. Can you tell us what was going on in your life that made you just pack up and leave to Korea in the first place?
My name is Nickson and I'm 28 this year and I've been dancing for more than 10 years actually at this point. I started dancing in high school and I was, I think, 16 around that time. Basically, there was a dance competition in our school at the time and that was actually the first ever dance competition I participated in and I've also won it. Yeah, I just kept dancing after that and eventually landed on this competition on the TV show called Astro Battleground. That was in 2014. And I also won that as well with my group. I just did road shows for the whole year, actually, up until 2015, I think. The reason why I left for Korea was really simple. Basically, I simply wanted to just improve and get better. And there were not many platforms at the time that allowed me to keep growing and get better. So I decided to just move overseas where the dance culture is much, much stronger and established compared to here, I would say. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Did you not consider any other countries?
Yes, I actually did. I considered Japan, actually. It was between Japan or Korea, so it was one or the other. Yeah.
So why Korea in the end?
So there were a few things. One, obviously gesture, because during Astro Battleground, right after the local dance competition, they immediately have the Asian level dance competition right after. So what happened was they brought over representing teams from each country. So there were Korea, Japan, Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, and the one representing Korea at the time was Just Jerk. So they won the competition and obviously they kind of inspired me to learn their dance style and as well as why Koreans to Japan was basically, so I went to Japan for a month and this was before Korea. I took classes there, just tried to mingle around in Japan for a month. I went there with John, by the way, who also danced with me since high school. We were in the same school, same class. Yes, we both went to Japan and we started dancing around in Japan, take classes and stuff. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but people didn't really talk to us. It could also be because of the language barrier. I'm not sure. Maybe they are shy or something. Yeah, so I didn't really felt very welcome. And the teachers didn't really kind of approach us, or even when we approached the teachers, they didn't really want to, I guess, talk much. From what I heard from my Japanese friends, it could also be a seniority thing. You know how Japan has if you're a student, you can't just approach a teacher as easily, I guess, until a certain amount of time. So there was that too. So, I did that in Japan for a month and then immediately after I went to Korea. So the difference was maybe it's because Gesture already knew who I was from, competing in Malaysia. And when I was there, when I took classes from the Gesture members, they were very welcoming. They were just they just approached me and, hey, where you're from, what are you doing here? Are you enjoying your time here? I'm just yeah. And it wasn't just the teachers, but even the students there, they were very welcoming because you could tell they couldn't speak very proper English, but they would still come up to you and be speak broken English, but in a very friendly manner. They're like, hey, hi, where are you from? I'm just oh, Malaysia. And they're like, oh, Malaysia. And where's Malaysia? Yeah, it's fun, right? And even something simple after classes, people will be like, hey, we're going to hang out here, hey, do you want to join? Even though I was a foreigner, right? And they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. They kind of not alienate you just cause you can't speak Korean. So I guess when I was there during my 1 month, a lot of people were more welcoming. So I just felt more at home there, I guess. So that's why I decided to just base in Korea.
So Just Jerk, right? I mean, we've been mentioning Just Jerk for quite a lot and it's only the start of the episode. So we understand that you are the only foreigner to ever get on the team. Are you still the only foreigner on the team?
Yes, I am. I actually think I am. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure if I consider myself still part of the team. Yeah, the thing is, they think I am still part of the team, but I'm not actively participating with them. But it's kind of like a family thing. Once a member, always a member kind of thing. So yeah, I think I am the only foreigner up to now.
We can be confident that you're the first foreigner to ever get on the team, right?
For sure. Yeah, I was the only one. Yeah.
So, did you have to work extra hard to earn your spot on team because you're not Korean, or did you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, dance aside, I think the biggest thing I had to work hard for is definitely the culture and language. It was definitely a big hurdle for me it was also the reason why I couldn't make past the first auditions, actually. So, because at the time, my proficiency for the language wasn't that good. And also, culture-wise, my leader would always tell me, the saying, in Rome, do what the Romans do, right? So, that applies in Korea as well. He sees me as a Korean and expects me to behave like one, which is completely fair, because that way I don't feel as alienated, right? So of course the dance side, which the way Korean dancer moves is also different. I feel like every country has their own way of moving because it's strongly related to their own culture. It's like, for example, even for Malaysia, we have the Malay dance or the Chinese dance, and then we kind of sometimes incorporate it into our own dance, right? So Korea has their Korean traditional dance, and I'm pretty sure Japan has their own Japanese cultural dance too, and they kind of incorporate that into their own dance. So it is kind of different as well, I would say. So yeah, that's the challenges I faced.
How long did it take for you to assimilate to their culture?
Honestly, even until now, I would say I'm not 100% assimilated, but it took, I think I would say it took me 2 to 3 years, being in Korea, to kind of understand the culture well. Even something simple as when you greet, it's worse that if you greet subtly, for example, you go, if you do that, it's apparently seen as rude. So it's either you don't greet or you greet properly, you go 안녕하세요, and then you go 90 degree, and that's the right way to do it, right? So stuff like that. We may see it as something really meager, very small matter. But to Koreans, most of the Koreans, they'll think that, if you greet very subtly, it's seen as very not sincere, right? So stuff like that. These are one of the really minor details, but yeah, there are a lot more than that. So
it's all these social cues that are the most difficult, right? Because you don't have the context that they've had. Wait, you said that you didn't manage to get in the first time. How many times did you try?
I tried twice. All right. So the first audition, I tried because I heard, one of the members at the time who was taking a class with me, she introduced me to the audition. I didn't know it was happening. So she was like, hey, auditions are happening. And she said how it works is a workshop format. And because she knew that I enjoyed taking my leader, Young Jae, she knows that I enjoy taking his classes. She was just like, why don't you just try the auditions? First of all, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. And whether you get it or not, it's also a free workshop if you think about it, right? So I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let me sign up. And then I signed up, and then I took the workshop, and I got selected. And then when I got selected, apparently there was 3 rounds. Okay, so how it works is round 1, it's workshop. So it's as every workshop, how it works is you learn the dance, and then they'll split you into group A, group B, group C. And then after that, you dance in your groups, and the members would pick whoever they think it's pretty decent, I guess, kind of weed out the weak, if you put it in a mean way. So I got selected. So I was just oh, okay, shit. I didn't expect to, because I was just there to learn the workshop for fun, right? And then when I got selected, apparently there was round 2. And then she was like, oh shit. Even she was like, I didn't expect you to get selected. I was like, yeah, I didn't expect me to get selected too. And then she was just like, all right, round 2 is you guys show your own choreography. I was like, oh damn. I was like, I wasn't prepared. So I was like, all right, fine. Okay. So I was like, when's the round 2? She was like, in 30 minutes. I was like, okay, fine. Okay. Then I just pick a song, and I quickly just choreographed a piece, right, in 30 minutes. And then I got that done. But thankfully I was behind the line. So it took a while before it's my turn. So I had more time, I guess. And I tried out the round 2, and I did the choreography. And then they kind of message you a week later. So I thought maybe it was just for fun. I wasn't expecting anything, because, I was new in the scene, new kid on the block, right? And then 1 week later, they messaged me. They say, hey, you passed round 2, come for round 3. I was like, oh shit, what the hell is round 3 then? And they're like, oh, round 3 is really simple. There's no dance. You just come in. It's like an interview. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, cool. And then on the day itself, I went there, and then I sat for the interview. And here's the worst part, because I was new, right, in Korea. I couldn't speak Korean. couldn't. I mean, I could speak Korean, but not very well at the
Wait,
time.
this was in your first year in Korea, is it?
This was, I'd say, second year in Korea. So I was
okay.
already 1 year in. Yeah, but at the time, my Korean is still pretty bad. Yeah. So interview was like, okay, Youngjae is like, he's really strict, right? My leader. So he has no mercy. He's like, all right. Yeah, he was like, all right, I know you're a foreigner and all, but this is an interview and communication in a dance crew is really important. So he's like, I'm going to speak in Korean. So he spoke Korean with me the whole time. And every time I couldn't understand something, I couldn't answer. And he would just give me that disappointed face. So I would just be like,
oh, man.
you know, it is what it is, right? So like I didn't because I think they thought I was auditioning for real. And I was just like, I was there for the workshop for fun, yo. I didn't expect to like, yeah. So anyways, the interview was over. I didn't expect much. And obviously I didn't get it, right? But I guess what motivated me to try harder after the audition was Youngjae came out and he told me like, all right, you know, you didn't get it this time, right? But he said like he really liked my dance and he really liked my mindset. So he told me like, all right, in this the following year they're gonna hold audition again. And he pretty much told me like, hey, just work hard, you know, work on your dance, you know, do what you need to do. And most importantly, work on your Korean. He said like, work on your Korean and try to master the language. So in that 1 year I think this was around close to 2016, 1 year, the whole 1 year, all I did was I was just dancing. I was just training because once I heard that, right, I got super motivated. I was like, oh shit, like I might actually make it because I've never like thought about joining the crew in the first place. I was just there to learn and then maybe head home and then, you know, do my thing, which was, here's the whole thing, the whole drama, the O13 thing, right? So, I was like, you know, I was there to learn and then maybe I'll head back and then get on with my project, right, O13. But yeah, so anyways, after I heard that, I just trained, right? I just trained really hard. I was like, all right, I gotta step it up. So 1 whole year, I never stopped dancing every day, Monday to Friday, unlimited pass, 6 classes a day, 6 classes. I take it all every freaking day. I never stop. And sometimes sometimes even like when the studios are closed, I would take extra time and I go to other studios. Jose Tutat, the guy that teaches tutting, he's a really good friend of mine as well. So I take classes from them. I would go to a hip hop studio called Crossover in Korea as well. It's a popular studio for any street dancers who want to learn street dance. This hip hop teacher called Stagger, Crossover crew, really, really good teacher. I really recommend him. He really taught me a lot for hip hop. And yeah, stuff like that. I would just keep dancing. I wouldn't stop for that 1 whole year. That was my focus. And the other focus was I was just practicing the Korean language nonstop. I was studying so hard, like holy shit. Like I was in university too at the time. And the whole time I was in university, I was just like, just practicing and just like studying Korean. I would join like classes that teaches like economics and accounting, but in Korean. So it was like extra harder for me because like most classes you can take in English if you want because like Korea at that time, they have the curriculum. So there were a lot of international students and international students would naturally take classes in English, right? But what I did was I took it in Korean because I want my Korean to be better, right? So those are like the challenges I really faced. I was just like, I just worked my ass off for like 1 whole year. And then eventually, you know, the second auditions came the following year, you know, I came, you know, like a different person, I guess. Yeah, I did the audition again. I knew I would go past the first and second round because, you know, the first time I did it, I passed. What makes me not pass the next time, right? Yeah. After all that training, you know? So it's like, I mean, second auditions, I did it pretty easily. The first 2 rounds, I got past it. And then again, I came into the same interview room again. I just sat in the same chair and Youngjae was wearing the same clothes, the same sunglasses he would put on, and he would just like stare at me like he was staring at my soul. And he asked the same thing. And then the first thing he asked is like, in Korean, obviously, he was just like, how's your Korean now? I was just like, yeah, my Korean is decent. It was just like, he would start asking me stuff, you know, in Korean and everything. And I would answer everything in Korean. And he was just like, he just nods his head and he's just like, all right, then I'll see you tomorrow. I was just like, yeah, I'll see you soon. Yeah.
I got something for you.
Yep. After 1 whole year of working my ass off, and I got it.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Wow, what a story.
It's a
God.
bit like, okay, let's say if I want to join a team and they're like, oh no, you have to master your Mandarin first or something like that. And you do all these things for like an entire year just to be able to get through for a dance team. Wow. Video.
Yeah, because I mean, even something like I remember back in Malaysia, I danced with some of the, I guess they're still dancing. They're pretty popular in Malaysia right now. I don't know if you're Kim. Supervism. Yes. Yeah. We used to dance together a lot, and he even lived with me at one point. So like I remember him asking, I don't know why, like it's been like what 6-7 years now, and I remember him asking me this question: hey, if you ever get to join a dance crew, who would you pick? And at that time, right, the two crews came into my mind. So at that time, urban dance it started getting popular, and at that time, there's this mega crew called Choreo Cookies. I don't know if you heard of them. Choreo Cookies was really popular at the time, and also when he asked me that question, it was right after Astro Battleground. So Just Joke was really popular at the time as well. So he asked me this question, like, which crew would you join if you get to pick one? And I said Choreo Cookies for mega crew and Just Joke for like, just a smaller like tight crew. And then when I saw this opportunity, I just like, I don't know, for me it feels like it's like this door is like half open for me, and it was all up to me to open it fully and just step in, right? So that's why like for that one whole year I just didn't stop working. That's why I pretty much I was so engrossed in this whole like goal. I didn't really like stay connected with like Malaysia or anything. I just like I was really just super focused on this. So yeah, I mean that's what happened, and I just got in the crew pretty much. Yeah.
I guess dreams do really come true, right?
I guess, yeah.
If you put in the work.
Yep.
Yeah. For sure.
Exactly.
Take respect to you, man.
It's been a journey, yeah.
Would you do it again though?
Would I do it again? 100%.
Yeah. Like that entire process. Yes or no?
I mean, it was rough, yeah. I mean, 100%. Honestly, the rough part isn't even like getting in. The rough part was after the like getting in, The getting in was like the hardest, like, oh my god, the stuff we do. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely do it again, 100%. I think it's not just about the dance side or even the culture side or the language side, but just doing all that just kind of like taught me how to be a better person in general, I guess. Yeah, it's like you've been through hardship, and then now like pretty much anything you do in life, you're like, oh, I've been through that whole journey, like what else can stop me, right? Even with my heart surgery, right? At first I was like so worried, I was like, shit, should I do it or not? I could never dance again, like after I do it and everything. But I guess this journey kind of gave me the courage to do the heart surgery. I was like, yeah, screw it, I'll do it. And I got it done. Yeah. And yeah, I'm good now. Yeah.
Nickson, I thought you went to Korea and then you took language classes, but no, you went and you got a degree and you did it in Korean. So it's like you knew you had to work hard, but you went the extra mile to make sure you worked hard.
Yeah. Also, like the university thing too was kind of like my leverage, right? Because okay, let's be honest. I mean, every Asian parents, like, or at least generally, are like they wouldn't like 100%. Like they would say like, yeah, I support you, but it's not like they want you to do this as your career, right? Especially not my parents. They weren't very happy when I said I wanted to pursue dancing. So what I did was I made a deal with them. I was like, hey, like, because obviously I was young at the time and I couldn't support myself. I needed my parents to help me, right? So I was like, hey, you support me going to Korea to pursue my dance. I promise you I'll get in the top 3 universities. And they were like, you do it then. And then I did it. I applied for the university. I did the interview with the school and they got me. So I got into this university called Korea University. Yeah. So in Korea, there's 3 universities that people only talk about.
Sky, right?
Exactly, Sky, SKY. So it stands for Seoul, Korea, and Yonsei. And I got into Korea. So yeah, I mean, I got in top 3. I was like, hey, top 3 university, can I go Korea now? And my parents were like, yeah, sure, I guess, go for it. And yeah.
Some parents would like send their kids to like cram school for like years just so that like they can get into one of those 3 universities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
You got in.
Yeah.
What did you study?
Oh, it's okay. It's business, but it's very different. Like the system there, they follow American like academic system. So a lot of the classes you take, like you have to pick it yourself, and they obviously have like a mandatory classes you have to take for your major. But there are also like a set of mandatory elective classes you have to take. So it's a mix of everything. Yeah, it was business. It was for 4 years. It's different from how we usually are, like 3 years. Even in the UK, it's 3 years, but in Korea, it's 4 years. So they don't have college. So it's pretty much high school, then university. Yeah, so it's 4 years. That's why I'm doing marketing now, because I got business degree.
Marketing. I think everyone in this call is a marketing person.
Yeah, I'm doing marketing, but I didn't have a business degree. I don't know. I kind of went, hey.
Yeah, don't worry. You don't need it. It's just there for like, hey, I got a degree. You want me or not? Yeah,
that's true though.
But now you're in Malaysia, right?
Yes. I'm in Malaysia.
Are you back for good, or are you planning to go back to Korea?
I didn't at first. I didn't come back like 100%. When I came back around sometime last year, end of 2020, right? I came back because
You were
of my
so
surgery.
quiet.
Yes, I was. I came back because of my surgery, and I told my crew member, "Hey, I gotta get this surgery done, right? Like, I don't want to stay benched." So that was the plan. I get my surgery, I go back to Korea. Okay, here's what happened. I did my surgery, and right after my surgery, COVID hit. I don't know if you all remember, right? Okay, China started first, but I don't know if you all remember the second country that I guess COVID popped off was Korea actually, because of the whole church incident thing. So at the time, Korea was hitting numbers like 7 to 9,000, and COVID was new. 7 to 9,000 seems like holy crap, that's so serious, right? And my parents were like very reluctant for me to go back. They're like, no, like we're not gonna pay for your flights. Like even if I use my own money, they said no. Like they don't want me to go back to Korea because Korea was really serious at the time. So I couldn't go back to Korea. So I told my crew, I was like, hey, I'm stuck. Like my parents don't let me, and I mean, you guys are also like pretty much like screwed because COVID happened. They couldn't do classes and everything too. So I mean, my leader was like, yeah, that's fair. Even if you come back, we can't do anything because of COVID. So I was just like, yeah, I'll stay in Malaysia then for a bit. So I did my online semester here in Malaysia, and I did that for like one semester. So that's like 3.5 months. And then,
So wait, have you finished your degree?
Yeah. Actually, I finished it already. Okay. This is also like very weird. Okay, I finished my degree, but I didn't officially graduate. So meaning I can actually graduate whenever I want now. I already finished all my credits and everything. So they said like, hey, do you want to graduate? We can just email you the graduation cert. I'm just like, yo, like I did this for 4 years. Can I like at least, get like a cool, they have it.
Rubber gown.
Yeah.
I know how you
Fashion,
feel.
right? Or something like to show that I graduated. But they were like, COVID and everything. They're like, it's fine. We can just email you. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna wait. And they're like, yeah, it's up to you. You can wait all the way up to 2025. Like they say, like no rush. Yeah. So I was like, oh, all right, I'll wait then. And then I kept waiting, but COVID never got better, right? So 2021, we were still kind of unsure, right? Like 2021, let's be fair, like it was still like seen as like very serious. We had lockdowns and everything. So even if I wanted to go, lockdown, I couldn't go. I didn't want to waste time anymore. So I started working. I was like, hey, I might as well just work instead of just sitting and doing nothing. Even in Malaysia, I'm pretty sure the dance scene was really kind of like quiet down because of COVID too. Yeah. So, I started working, work from home and everything. It was all right. I was just trying to not waste my time, I guess. And yeah, that was pretty much what I did the whole 2021, I'll be honest. Yeah.
I just want to ask you about like, because you said that like getting into gesture, that was the start of the extreme hurdles, like it got harder after that, right? Can you explain a bit more on that? Like what actually happened? Like what were the difficult things that you were forced to do, challenges that you had to overcome after you got in gesture?
When I got into gesture, obviously culture was like the biggest issue because the whole time, that whole year, I was learning language. I wasn't learning culture, right? So when I got into crew, he was basically schooling me with stuff like, hey, whenever you see a Hyung meaning like an older brother, you need to speak formally. You can't speak informally. And, when you see a Hyung, you must always greet them, like, oh, when you see them, you go 안녕하세요. When you leave, you gotta say 가보겠습니다, means you're gonna leave, right? Or anything you do, you gotta kind of like tell somebody older than you first. Even if you want to go to the toilet, you gotta like be like, oh, 혹시 저 화장실 가도 돼요? Like, can I go to the toilet? And then they're like, yeah, you can go to the toilet. I'm just like, thank you. Okay, I'll go to the toilet. Yeah, so stuff like that, right? You gotta learn and gotta like suit in, And that was okay. Like it took me a while to get used to it, but I got used to it. And then so biggest challenge is, I guess, America's Got Talent, 100%. Because right after I got into crew is right after they won Body Rock 2016. That was the big thing they won. Like I don't know if you've seen the performance. They wear the red hanbok and there was like 9 of them. Yeah, they won the competition, and that was when they got hot. So right after I joined, I think America's Got Talent approached them and be like, hey, we want you on our show. So are you interested? And then they were like, yeah, sure. So it was 2017. I got in the crew. A few months later, I flew to LA and I lived there for like 3 months for America's Got Talent. So I was just like, it was very hectic. Like I got in the crew, I'm trying to learn the culture, and they're like, all right, we got to go LA. I'm like, what? We're going LA already? They're like, yeah, we're going LA. I'm just like, okay. And then we go to LA. And yeah, thankfully at the time, there were a few members in the crew that helped me a lot as well because they were English speakers as well. One is the girl called Lee Jong. She's really popular now, apparently. So I was really close with her and she speaks English. And then another Hyung called Chris is Canadian Korean. So he speaks English as well. So we kind of like, work with each other because most of the members don't speak English, right? So when we go to LA, we pretty much had to do a lot of the the managing and just talking to, working with the producers of America's Got Talent and everything. So it's like, it's kind of like out of my job scope. Like I'm here to dance, but I'm like now like, managing stuff like this. I'm just like, holy shit, I'm not ready for this, right? And stuff like that, I was learning on the fly. That was my first big stage as well. So like I'll be honest, like the memory is so vivid, right? Like when I was standing on that stage, I was honestly super nervous. Like I think that's like the most nervous I ever get in my life, hands down. Like so nervous because even like, I don't know if you all know who the judge is. Like Simon is like known to be like super critical. Like he would roast you if you suck at like something, So it was like I wasn't ready to get roasted, right? It's like my first ever. Yeah, to be fair, it's my first ever activity with the crew, and it was on such a big stage, right? I was like, I'm not trained like to be on such a big stage yet. I wasn't ready, and I was so nervous, right? And like I was like, shit, if like we get roasted, like would people talk shit about like us because of like not just me but all the newer members, right? Or could it be because of me as well? Because I'm the only foreigner, because we are kind of representing Korea and I was the only foreigner. Like sometimes people can get mean, which did happen actually. They're like, hey, why you guys add a foreigner, right? And stuff. But yeah, I don't want to get into that. But anyways, yeah. So that was definitely the hardest hurdle, America's Got Talent. But thankfully we did well during our first round, and Simon liked it. He stood up, he clapped. I was like, yay, Simon clapped. Yeah, I guess that's one of the first challenges, like just staying calm and being able to adapt on the fly for such a big TV show, because oh my god, don't get me started. So like America's Got Talent is a TV show at the end of the day. So a lot of the songs you use, it needs to get like licensing and everything, right? So the biggest problem was most of the songs that we want to use, they didn't allow it because it was not part of their licensing. So we couldn't use some of the songs. And in their head, they're like, hey, why not just put this dance in this song? It's the same thing. And then we're just like, that's not how it works, right? This dance piece, like for example, if we do like a traditional Korean dance, we want to use a traditional Korean song, and they're like, no, why not just put this dance in a Chris Brown song? And we're just like, they're like, why singers can do that? Why when we ask singers to change song, they can just do it? Why can't you dancers do it? And we just like, that's not how it works. It's like, we just couldn't like connect with them. There was a lot of argument back and forth. It was also bad because Young Jae, who is our leader, he needs to talk to them because he knows better than us, but he couldn't speak English, and it had to always go through like a third party, right? He has to go through me or go through one of the English speakers, go through one of us, then to AGT to one of us, then to Young Jae. So it was because of this problem with miscommunication, there were a lot of issues, and Young Jae wasn't happy, AGT wasn't happy. There was just a lot of like clash. So it was a lot of sleepless nights, let's say we have like 2 weeks and then live shows, we couldn't even make the dance for the piece because we had to wait for the song. And it took them like forever to get the song licensed or give us a song that we could use on the show. So there was just a lot of miscommunication, I would say. Yeah, I remember like getting a song like a week before, and it was a Chris Brown song. You can look up the performance on YouTube. We were not very happy with the performance. We did as best as we could because we got the song a week before, and we did it. We did the dance. We tried our best. A lot of Koreans supported us, but we weren't satisfied. Let's be honest. And another bad thing was it was based on votes as well. And we were like, hey, can we like promote in Korea and let the Koreans help us vote? Apparently, we can't. Only Americans get to vote. So it is what it is. Okay, we did the show and we're done. We pack our bags. We go home. So that was a 3-month journey, I guess, in LA. And that was just the first hurdle, I guess.
That's like a lot more than most dancers will ever have to go through in their entire dance career, man.
Yeah, that was my first activity with Just Joke too. So yeah. And all right, after that, we got back. Obviously, we were frustrated and everything, but it is what it is, And like 1 month later, so happened, Korea was preparing for the Winter Olympics, Pyeong Chang 2018. It was end of 2017 at the time. People voted for us because I think the America's Got Talent video kind of got viral, right? Because Koreans, they're very patriotic, they're very supportive, right? So when they heard like a Korean dance crew was on the American TV show, everyone was very supportive, So apparently a lot of people voted, like, for Winter Olympics, obviously athletes like, Kim Yuna, the ice skater, they all got voted to perform, And then, normally you expect people to vote for K-pop groups, you wouldn't expect a dance crew. They voted for us, and yeah, it's also on YouTube. You can look it up. Pyeong Chang Olympics 2018 Just Joke performance. We got voted, and we were surprised. It's for the Olympics. Everyone was happy. We're just like, yeah, let's do it. So I guess that's the next big thing that I ever did. It was Just Joke. which is also the second activity I did with gesture. I wasn't ready for it too. I was like, oh my god, I just came back from LA and now you want me to do for Olympics? I'm just like, yo, like I'm just a nobody, yo. Like I'm not ready for all this. So
He's been thrown into like one deep end.
Yeah, like just straight into the deep end.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why like I'm so busy with like, see, the thing is, right, like when you're so busy with like the stuff like when you have so many challenges thrown at you and like stuff like that, when you're so busy trying to work towards a goal, I had no time for social media. I couldn't post anything or like even talk to my friends or my family because I'm so occupied. Like I'm just like, I need to get my shit done, right? So I have so much on my plate. I couldn't really like update or anything. So that was that Olympics. You know, it was challenging, 100% degrees, negative 26 degrees. It was cold. We were wearing those tin traditional hanbok to dance. I remember like lying down, like our performance starts with us lying down on the ice floor, right? And I was just like, we obviously stick heat packs, you know, inside, like you know, we tape it and everything, you know, to keep ourselves warm. But I remember like rehearsing every time I lay down there, I honestly thought I froze to death. I'll be honest. Like everyone's like, you know, everyone's pretty good, you know. They're all like, all right, Koreans, you know, they're seasoned for the winter. I'm Malaysian, you know. There is no winter in Malaysia. Like I never experienced such a cold country before. I was just like, holy shit, I couldn't handle it. That was another challenge, 100%, like for sure. I just couldn't handle the cold, and that was really suffering for me for 1 month. Almost 1 month we were there, and
you said negative 26, like negative 26.
Yes, it was that
Celsius?
cold.
Celsius.
Celsius.
I don't think at that temperature it matters Celsius or Fahrenheit. Already.
Yeah, 100%. It was close to 30, obviously, especially at night. Yeah, it's so cold. Yeah, it was. It even snowed so hard that we had to take the snowmobiles. Because your car just couldn't go on the snow because it's so thick, right? I mean, it was hard, definitely, but the experience was so worth it. Like I honestly enjoyed the experience. It was so good. Like it was just nice seeing like all the athletes together at one spot. You know, different countries of like people were there. You know, and us being the opening show. It was such an honor. Like, even though I'm not Korean, but you know, it just felt like, hey, I'm like representing Korea, but you know, it'd be great if you know if they know I'm Malaysian, guys. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was the second challenge I faced, I guess.
You went from like live TV in the US
to Olympics, yeah,
and then Olympics. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm finding it very hard to brain it right now.
So this all happened in a span of like how many months or a year, within a year?
I got in the crew 2016, I think. Yes, 2000, because 2016 was the year they won Body Rock. So it was around end of 2016 they had the auditions. I got in the crew around there. So end of the year, right? So AGT happened around 2017, beginning of 2017. So I think sometime around March. I honestly cannot remember. So I went to LA there for 3 months, right? Then we came back. It was already middle of the year, past middle of the year. And obviously we kind of like settled down, right? After LA. So for 1 month, 2 months, then the Pyeong Chang thing called us. Obviously Pyeong Chang doesn't happen immediately, right? They call us. So we got time to prepare, maybe 2-3 months to prepare. So we were spending the whole time preparing for Pyeong Chang Olympics, which is 2018. So I would say we were preparing end of 2017. Beginning of 2018 was the Olympics. We performed for the Olympics there. So I would say 1.5 year-ish. Yeah. In that whole time frame, I would say, yeah.
Man, that's still absolutely insane.
It was a journey, 100%. It was worthwhile though. It was hell, but it was worthwhile.
I'm overwhelmed for a while.
I'm a little bit. I'm still processing the journey, honestly.
you guys feel like you're riding the journey with me, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, you're a good storyteller though. So like really when you're talking about it, like we're on the ride with you as well. And then we see like the highs and the lows. What do you think Just Jerk has that has made it successful? I mean, I would think that it is a pretty successful team. You know, like not everyone gets to do all those things that you just mentioned. What can other teams adopt from the way Just Jerk does things to replicate their successes? Or at least, you know, like bring their team from level 1 to level 5001.
5001, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's very simple. I think people sometimes they think too much and they think out of the scope. I think, okay, so we take it back to step 1. Okay, so I think what caught the attention of most people when Just Jerk first performed in Malaysia at the time was as simple as how synchronized they were. If you watch back like the year that we competed in Astro Battleground, every team weren't synchronized. Like Just Shook were the only crew that was synchronized. Okay, no doubt their choreography was insane, but I think the biggest factor was because how synchronized they were. Because no matter how insane your choreography is, if the whole team doesn't dance synchronized, there is no point, honestly, I would say. It would just look messy. It would just be hard to watch, So at the time, honestly, I would say there were no crews that could dance as synchronized as they were. Maybe the closest would be Shit Kings, but even then, at that time, Just Shook were more synchronized than that, in my opinion, I would say. And that's what caught many of the attention of people, because they were like, what the hell? These 5 people dance exactly the same. And it also shows, if you watch the Body Rock 2016 performance where they all wore it, you can see how synchronized that performance is. And most people would laugh it off, like making fun, like, I can't tell who is who. But that is the point, If you can't tell who is who, it means they're just that synchronized, right? So I think they're dancing as a unit, but also like as an individual as well. Whenever someone takes the center, that person's charisma or her charisma carries the part of the dance. So I think that's what makes them unique. And also another simple thing is, I mean, this sounds very cringe, but just work hard, I guess. So there is this term we use in Korea called seyeon. So seyeon basically means in short for 새벽 연습. So 새벽 meaning midnight and 연습 meaning practice. So we cut it short, we call it seyeon. And it's a very common term we use in Korea. So if you go to Korea, if you tell them, like, hey, I'm doing seyeon, and they'll be like, oh, you're Korean, It's like, so we say seyeon. So it basically just means midnight practice, right? It's a very common culture among dancers in Korea. And basically, like I said, it's very normal for dancers to dance from 12 midnight to 5 in the morning, because that's when the first train comes. So if the first train comes at 6, people will dance all the way to 6. If the first train comes at 7, people will dance all the way to 7. So basically, we just dance all the way until the first train comes, and then we go home. Another biggest factor I said for most dance team is, I think people need to put their ego down if you're dancing in the team. Like, trust me, like there are many times Youngjae would make fun of my dance or like the other members. I mean, jokingly, of course, but some people would get really sensitive. Like, for example, like we would have a new performance and he would ask everybody to pick a few songs and then come back after like 10 minutes, right? And people would bring their song, and then he would just be like, when you play the song for him, everyone would get nervous, right? So when you play a song for him, he would just be like, he listens to it and he's like, oh, this song you listen when you're showering. And then next person, and he listens to the song, he's like, oh, this song you listen when you're driving. So he would say stuff like that would make you feel like, wow, is he attacking me? But you gotta respect him, right? He's the dance director. But the thing is, in Malaysia, like most people get really sensitive and start like a drama over it, So I think like another big factor is you need to put your ego down and listen to your dance director or whoever's in charge of that piece or that project, because you decided that he or she is your leader or your dance director. So it is your duty to follow his or her decision. It's not that, we need a supreme leader and he decides, he does everything. It's not that. Everyone gets to chip in, but at the end of the day, the dance director, that's why he's called a dance director, right? At the end of the day, the dance director is his duty to decide what is the best fit for that performance, if that makes sense.
But what if you disagree with the dance director? You chose him at the start for a reason, but then they make mistakes too. They're human.
I mean, if you want to disagree with him or her, I think the best time to do it is either before you decided he was a dance director or after the competition, say, performance itself. Because before that, when you decided him to be your dance director or your leader, there is some level of respect you have for that person, right? Obviously, that's why you decided him to be the dance director. And once you decided him to be a dance director, you need to respect that person's decision. Because I give you an example. Okay, why is there some movies good and some movies are bad? Because obviously there are directors that directed wrongly and there are directors that directed right. So even if the movies are bad, it's not like people will be like, oh, I disagree, and they start leaving. They believe in the director and they just follow the director, right? All the way through. And even if the movie is bad, you can always criticize it after, like, hey, your decisions didn't work out. Like, maybe next time we could try something else, or maybe decide a different director, right? But during the process, it's always bad to keep having clashes of opinions, because in that way, you're going to waste a lot of time. Trust me, I've seen it. Like, this person will be like, hey, this is better. And next person's like, no, this is better. And then like, it never ends. So you need that one person to oversee everything. And obviously you guys decide him to be the leader or the director. You guys have to have that level of trust. It's like, all right, I think this idea is better and this person thinks this idea is better. Then you ask him, which one do you think is better? And then if let's say this person chooses that person's idea, you as a member of that dance team shouldn't feel offended. You'll be like, all right, he's my dance director. He decides that's best for that performance. Let's move on, right? Put down our ego. Let's move on, because we're all here to make that performance the best at that time. So if you want to disagree or anything, you should have done it before you put him as a dance director. Like, you can be like, oh, I don't agree that he should be a dance director because I think there's this other person that's more suitable. Or if you think you're better, you'll be like, all right, you know what? I'll be the dance director. You guys think you're better than me. Like you guys gotta like decide before the performance or the competition itself, and then you can disagree during it or after the performance. performance or the competition, then you can be like, hey, you can criticize, right? Like, we didn't make it, what was the problem, right? That's after it, right? So that's how I see it, at least.
Personally, I feel like over here in Malaysia, criticism isn't so well received, especially when it comes to like someone addressing a critical opinion to like a dance director, someone above them. But like in Korea, would you say it's more well received, or is there still that kind of level of hierarchy where you kind of have to respect that dance director and keep your opinions to yourself? Like, how is it?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I've seen crews in Korea where, obviously, like seniority, right? I said this about Japan. Same thing in Korea as well. Both these countries practice culture very strongly. And I've seen this as well in Korea. There are crews where obviously the dance director is the dance director only because he was old. Like, he was the oldest member in the crew and not because he was good. Like, I don't want to call out who, but he's just because he's the oldest member, he became the dance director. And because of that hierarchy, a lot of the members, even the members who are better than the dance leader, couldn't say anything to that person. So here's the catch. That's why Just Joke is so successful, because this is what Young Jae said. I'm the leader not because I'm the oldest, but he said I'm the leader because I'm better than all of you. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Everyone's like, yup.
If he can say that confidently, he must be doing something right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he proved it before too, because so there was this project for a commercial. There was this one time he was like, all right, I'm not going to direct this time. You guys do it. And holy shit. Okay, so we're like, yeah, Young Jae's not directing. Yeah, we got the freedom. Let's do what we want, yo. Holy, it was so not efficient. It was so chaotic. Like, he gave someone else to handle it. I don't want to say which member, but anyways, yeah, someone else handled it, and it was so chaotic because he couldn't decide what was good or bad. Because everyone in the crew was so strong, right? Everyone in the crew has their personality. Everyone in the crew has their thing they want to put on the table. So it's like, this dancer say, I want to do this, and then the other dancer say, no, I want to do this. And then this person needs to be knowledge or experienced enough to decide which is better. And he just couldn't decide. He was just like, oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try that. Nothing's gonna work. If you're gonna waste time trying A, B, C, D, E, F, like you're gonna waste time. So you need to be at the level where the moment you see it, you have the confidence to say, this is something you dance in your shower, not for a stage. You need to have that level if you're going to be a dance director. So when Young Jae didn't direct for us, it was pretty disastrous. And that's when we realized, okay, no matter how much of an asshole he is, I don't want to say it's like me. I mean, he, I respect him a lot, but he does things right. He gets things to work, even though he's such a, not arrogant, I would say, just confident. Let's just say he's very confident, right?
Aki.
Yeah. So, I mean, exactly. So, I mean, even in Malaysia, like, if this person wants to direct, he needs to be experienced, right? Like, what credentials he has to back himself up,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he needs to have some sort of credential, right? He needs to back himself up, and he also needs to show that he has that level of skill, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't respect him, right? And if let's say I have more credentials and more experience to back myself up, and you try to argue with me, and then if let's say I say, all right, let me look at your idea, as someone who has that much experience, like for example, Young Jae, if he sees something that really works, he'll be like, yeah, okay, that's good, let's put them in. But if he says that no, that's not good, then you as the member need to sit down and think about it again. You cannot be like, hey, this is my style, I want to put it into the dance team, but you're not the dance director, right? So you need to learn to put your ego down and be like, okay, my dance director says it's not fitting, so maybe I can like think of something else, right? Don't waste time like trying to argue, right? If your dance director say no. If your dance director says yes, then yes. It's like that efficient in gesture. We do things really fast. So we follow that culture in Korea. We say pali pali. Pali pali means fast in Korea. Everything we do pali pali. Yeah. You want to pay money in the convenience store? If you're the next person, make sure your card is ready. If you're not ready, the ajushi at the counter, he's gonna like roast you. He'll be like, what the hell? Like in Korea, pali pali. Put your card out. The next person. Don't waste time. In Korea.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm feeling the pressure, like even just listening to this.
Sitting in a taxi, you're going to reach your destination, make sure your card is ready. Your card is not ready, the taxi driver is going to roast you like crazy, even though you're a foreigner. This is a tip, by the way, for everyone who's listening. If you go to Korea, paying for convenience stores, sitting in a taxi, make sure you always have your payment ready. Don't wait until you reach there. Then, all right, now I take my wallet out. Oh, you're going to get roasted so hard. Like, you're going to have a bad time. Yeah. Subway as well. People don't walk, people run. Don't walk, you run.
Very
You run.
London.
Yep, pretty much same thing. So yeah, I mean, back to the whole how to make the team work, right? So basically what I'm saying is the three things, right? I said synchronization, 100%. Like for example, like we do a lot of formations where we stand in a line, do our lines, do our hand and stuff. Young Jay will walk by everyone to see if our hand is like this, or like this. Basically a different finger formation. I'm sorry, we're on the podcast, I forgot. Yeah, so basically different finger formation, it matters. Even like if your hands are slightly turned to the right or slightly turned to the left, it matters when you put in the straight line. So he will check each person, make sure you're always in detail. And you as a member, you should also have to take the initiative to check with everyone because you're dancing as a team. So when you learn the dance step, you must always not just look at yourself. You gotta look at your members beside you. Are you the same with them? That's very important. And then when you realize someone else isn't the same with you as well, talk to him like, hey, Young Jay just taught this move. We're both different. Like, which one of us is right? So you as a member, you need to take the initiative as well. So that's how we work. We're trying to make the performance better together as a team. So back to the point, synchronization, that's that. Work hard. Like I said, Seon, Sebyok Yeonseo, midnight practice. Good luck with that. Do that. And then obviously put down your ego. This is the three things I think. Very important.
Alright, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening in. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Nickson and came away with actionable information on how to maintain success as a dance crew, how to take that first step into pursuing dance overseas, and the 3 things that every dance team can learn from gesture. We'll be back in the next episode with Nickson again to go over those key points in further detail. So if you'd like to get notified when the episode will be available, subscribe to our show, Shoes Off No Cap, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Shoes Off No Cap. That's at SHOESOFFNOCAP on Instagram. This episode was hosted by Diana, Ellie, and Izaz. Our producer is Sean Chin. Audio processing by Mayan and note taker Daphne. Special thanks to Nickson for agreeing to come on this show. I'm your host Izaz. Thanks for listening.